Okay, class. Today we'll look at part 3 for Python basics. Today we'll focus on string, that object Python uses to deal with text. Okay, to define string, so we use a variable as define string. We can use single quote to define string. And then you can look at s, and we'll have I'm string. Or you can use double quote, and inside you can put any characters you want. And we'll do the same thing. Or you can use triple quote. Triple quote can also use to define a string. But for triple quote, you can use multiple lines. Okay, I have a string and then change a line. We'll see that I have and this works if you use triple quote. So I think I can print it out, and you'll see that I'm a string, and then there's a special character. It's called backward slash, the special character in Python. And there's another one when you change line. There's a backward slash n. There's also a special character in Python. It means change line. So if you print, use a built-in function print s, and it will show multiple lines. Okay, and then we can concatenate strings by using addition. For example, if we have s1, s2, and then I can add them up. S1 plus S2 will show that I'm a string. Or we can do repetition. Means I can use S1 and then multiply any number. So if I multiply by 5, and then we'll get a new string that copy S1 5 times. We can also define empty string. Inside the quote, put nothing, and then you print out, you'll see that it's empty. Another thing about character is it's called escape characters. So some characters either have some special meanings or have been used. And then in string you need to define in a special way. The way to define the escape character is use backward slash and then plus a letter. For example, the most common use is a backward slash plus n, which means change line. So we have a usage. For example, if you define s as a string, and then in between you put the special character. If I print it out, this backward slash n will become 2 lines. Another use of escape character is, for example, like single quote has been used for string because it represents the end and the beginning of the string. So if I want to define a string, for example, I'm a string with a single quote somewhere, and then Python will not understand it because this single quote have been used to indicate the beginning and the end of the string. To let Python to know that this is just a character, and you can use backward slash to tell that this is a character but not the end or beginning of a string. And then you print it, you'll see that I'm string with and then single quote dot and then end. And this particularly useful, see if I'm using some English words, say that I cannot go. If I use a single quote, it doesn't work because it's not a string. What I can do is I can put a backward slash, and then the problem solved. Or another way to address this problem is use double quote. I think we use double quote to indicate the end and the beginning, and then Python has no problem to recognize the single quote. Okay, and then we look at indexing. What is indexing? Indexing is Python use index to access one or multiple elements in a string, because most of the cases string has many elements. If we want just access one of it, we can use index. So the index will start from 0 and then 1, 2, 3 until the end. And then we can use this index, for example, as square bracket and 0, and then to access the first letter. The first letter in the string I can go is I. 1 will be space, and 2 will be C. And particularly here I want to emphasize that the index starts from 0. And if you don't, you have to remember this, because if you don't remember this, there's a lot of problems when you use index. Because start from 0, 0 index represents the first element, and the index 1 represents the second element. Similarly, so the last element, if n represents the length of s, the last element, if you use index, that will be s, length of s minus 1, not just length of s. So length of s will tell you the length of a string, and minus 1, that will be the index for the last element. So the last element is O, so this will return O. Well, to make the problem simple, and Python also provide a shortcut to access the last element, use negative value, -1, you also access O. And similarly, you can use -2 to access the second last element, which is G. Okay, and then we go to slicing. So, for example, if you want access multiple elements, we want to access multiple elements in a string, and then we need a slicing technique. So slicing, for example, if we have S, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, we have string like this, and then we want to access, let's see, we want to access 4, 5, 6. And how to access it? 4, 5, 6, and then we'll access it by using square bracket, and then we use a colon, and the first number will be the index indicate element 4. So which is index 3. Notice that there is a shift by 1 because index start from 0, and 0 represents the first element. Then index 3 represents the fourth element. And then the last element is as 5, but however the last element will not be included and the first element will be included. Well, this is very tricky for Python, which means that if we want to show 6, we need to put index 6 here, which represents element 7, but will not be included, and then 4, 5, 6 will be taken out. And to be more specific, I will write down here that the first number 3, index 3 here, will be included, but index 6 will not be included, and that means it will slice as 3, as 4, as 5 out. So it will slice these 3 numbers out, and in this string that represents 4, 5, 6. Okay, if you want to slice a string from the beginning, and then you can put nothing for the starting index, and then put another index. See if I want to slice 1, 2, 3, 4 out, and then what I can do is I can do this. And similarly, if you want to slice a string from some point to the end, see if I want to slice 6, 7, 8, 9, and then I can put a number here as 5, and then until to the end, and then we'll slice 6, 7, 8, 9. Or if you want to slice the number, all number out, that's 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, I can also do it. You can start from the first element until the end. And then I can put one more column into it. So start from beginning all the way to the end, but with an interval. Let's see that 2. This is a even number. So start from 0 to the end, because start from beginning, so empty, I put nothing there. So to the end, I can put nothing there. And then with the interval 2, it'll slice the 1, 3, 5, 7, 9 out. So if I want to slice the even number out, 2, 4, 6, 8, what I can do is this time, and the slice will not begin from 0, let's start from 1, but all the way to the end, and also with interval 2, and then we'll get 2, 4, 6, 8. Another interesting thing is if I do this, so if I slice a string from beginning to the end, and then we'll take the whole string out. Or I can slice a string from beginning to end, but this time I will use the interval is -1. So in this way, I can reverse the whole string. So what I get, it will be 9, 8, all the way to 1. So this is a very useful way to reverse the whole string. Okay, that is for slicing and the index. And for string, and we will continue to look at some built-in functions. One useful function we want to use is in or not in function to help us find character in a string. So if you in and not in, it can help us whether there's a character or something in the string. A good example is if we have s, now we define s as 1 to 9. Now we know this is s, and we want to check whether character 1 in s, and then we can use this in s. We'll see that 1 is in s, so it's true. Or we can use whether 1 is not in s, and return false. And we can combine in with f to set up conditional or if conditional structure. For example, if 1 in s, and then can print 1 in s, right? We can also combine in with for loop. For example, if you want to access every element in S, so we can use a for, and then C is a variable you defined, C in S, and then we can print C, and you'll see that we will access all the elements in S and print them out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to 9. It's equivalent to use for I in range. So we have learned before. So there's another way to do the same thing, but we need to write more code. So for I in range, this time we need to know the length of f, and then we print s I. I is the index of s, and then we can print all that I, si, and then we'll also do the same thing. But if you use in s, and then we can use less command lines. Okay, another thing, very important property of string is, this is so important, that if you want design algorithm based on string, you have to know this. String in Python is immutable. What it means is once the string is created, it will be put in memory. You will take a space in memory, and you cannot change its value anymore. If you want to change its value of a string, you have to create a new space and create a new string and put the string into a new space. So if you want to change a string in space in place, it doesn't work. So we call string in Python is immutable. And that means if you want to change the value by using its index, let's see, I want to change the value of s, the first value is 1. If I want to change this value to 2, this is not allowed. They will report errors, tell you that string object does not support item assignment. You cannot change it in place. But you do have other method to change the value, and that means you need to create a new string and allocate new space in memory. for example, like here we have string 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's see this. And we want to create a new string that replace 3 by, say, 8. As we have shown, if I do this as index, I know it's number 3 has an index 2. This is 0 index, 1 index, 2 index. So as 2, if I change it to say 8, it doesn't work. So in order to solve the problem, there's many ways to solve it. One way is use concatenate, and then I can create a new string, and will access string from 1 to 2, which index start from default 0 and then to index 2, and then will not include index 2, and then I will change the value to 8. Okay, so 1, 2 is represented by s. The first one is represented 1, 2, and then I plus 8. I skip 3, and then I will use s again. This time s will be 4, 5. What I do is I'll put 3 there, and then until the end. And then I look at s1. Now s1 has been changed. Okay, so if you want to change, if you want to keep using s instead of using s1, and you want to drop the original string, what you can do is you can use s equal the new s equals the old s plus the middle value and plus the second half, and you get the new s. And it will do the same thing. And then in this way, and the old s space has been released, and they create a new string s, and it creates a new space in memory. And in that way, it doesn't change the principle of Python. The string is immutable. Well, there's other ways that we can do this is, well, we can use the built-in function with s. So there are many built-in functions in s. There are many ways you can find the built-in function of a string. You can use a help string to find all the built-in functions in string, or you want to show it in a neat way, then you can use dir, and it will show all the functions in string. So we can do the same thing. We use replace. So we know that s is again is a string. Let's see that is a string 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we want to replace 3 by 8. What we'll do is we can use built-in function replace 3 by 8. And you will see that this as replacement will return a new string. It's 1, 2, 8, 4, 5. Here I want to remind you that this will return a new string. It's 1, 2, 8, 4, 5, but s is not changed because s is not immutable. S is still 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but it returns a new string. So if you need this new string, the common usage is define a new string equal that, and then you'll get 2 strings. The old s string is still 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, immutable, and you create a new string s1 using s dot, and this building function replace, you get 1, 2, 8, 4, 5. Okay, and then we go to next building function of widely used. It's a format. Format help you to put a variable into a string. Often combined with print. So we have used it before. See something. We want to print something. A variable. Let's see, it's a float number. I want to print a float number, and I want to print A in the middle of the string. I can use the string dot building function format, and then put A there, and the A will be printed in the curled parentheses. See, I'm a float number, and we call it format because we can tell that what kind of format it has. So for float number, we can use colon and then dot f to design its format. So f represents the float. This dot tell you that you can put two numbers into it. For example, I put 4 and 6. The first number tell you that how many number you want to show for the whole number, and the second number tell you that how many places you want to show for the decimal number. If I put in this way, then it will show the 4 places for the whole number, but the whole number only have 2 places, and then we'll put spaces there. And the 6, it will put 6 numbers after decimal. If it's less than 6, it will put zeros. So if I put 10 here, then you will see more spaces added here. Okay, there are more spaces added here. All right, so, and again here, I think this is a, let me write down that what it really represents. The first number, like 19, actually denote the total number, the total places. It will show for the whole float number, and then second 6 denotes the places for the decimal part. Okay, those denote the total, include decimal and whole number, and then 6 denotes the decimal part, how many places it will show. Okay, so this is the float number. What if it's a integer number? Okay, if it's an integer number, for example, this is 12, and then we want to show it decimal number here, still we use column and the D, and then we only need to use one number to tell that how many places it should show. So I'm an integer number. Let me change this. I'm an integer number, and then 5D, it will show 5 places. Okay, right here, you'll see that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, that's integer for format. And then to wrap up this part, we'll work on two problems and see that how to use a string to manipulate text. Okay, the first problem we'll deal with is if user will input an equation. So user input equation, and the equation there will be parentheses, and your job or the code job is to determine whether the number of open parentheses equal the number of close parentheses. Okay, so first let's see that we input equation. See, we define a variable, it's called equation, and we input the equation by the user. And then we'll check that how many open parentheses and how many closed parentheses. And then we'll compare them. If they're equal, we said that yes, it meets the requirement. If not, we said not. Okay, so now we have this equation. We'll check that how many open parentheses and how many closed parentheses in it. So I will set two counter, the counter for open, the counter for close. At the beginning, I set it as 0. Set as 0. And then we'll count while through a for loop. So for C in equation. So for each C equation, I will check if C equal open parenthesis, LF, C equal close parenthesis. If it's equal open parenthesis, I will do a counter open plus equal 1. LF will do a count close plus equal 1. So after the for loop, and then we'll check. Now this is it, because I'm going to the beginning, there's no indent anymore, then that means at the end of the for loop, I will check if count open equal count close. If they are equal, and then we'll print yes, else we'll print no. And then we can run the code, can input the equation. Let's see, A plus B minus C minus D. And then we have 2 open and 2 close, so it's yes. And we can run it again if we input some equation that inappropriate, and you will see that it's no. Okay, so we can do the same thing if you are very familiar with built-in function and take time to get familiar with all the built-in function strings. And we work on more and more projects, and you get the opportunity to look at the usage of each built-in function, and your coding skill will be significantly improved. For example, if you know that how to use a count, again I will still use this two lines, but this time I will use built-in function. Open count will be equation dot the built-in function count. I will count how many open parentheses it has, and similarly I will count how many close parentheses it has. and then I will check whether they are equal or not. And you can write, okay, and they will do the same thing. No. Yes. Okay, and we'll work another example, and the last example. And we'll check words, the user input words is palindrome or not. So what is a palindrome? Palindrome means that if you have a string, you compare the first letter and the last letter. If they are same, and then you continue the second and the second last, if it's just still the same, and then you go all the way from to the middle, and then if they are same everywhere, then we call it a palindrome. Well, there might be cases that if there's a odd number, the length of the string is an odd number. For example, for this case, it's an odd number in the middle. That means it is equal to itself, and it's still a palindrome. So these two are two examples for palindrome. And your work is check whether a word is a palindrome or not. To do so, first we need ask the user to input a word, and our job is to check whether it's a palindrome or not. So one way to do it is, again, we use from scratch. Let's start from scratch. The idea is we will visit the first letter and then the last letter, and then we'll compare them until we come to the middle. So what we can do is use a for loop, and we'll start from the first letter and until to the middle. So in order to know the middle, we need to check get the length of the string, in the length of the string for I in range n to the middle. The middle will be divided by 2. I use a floor division, and mean only get the whole number. In that way, that I can avoid that if it's an odd number, I will not get a float number and still an integer. And luckily that if it's an odd number, and we don't need to check the middle number. Okay, just as the example showed here, if it's an odd number and we don't need to check the last number, so we write as floor division, it works. So for I in range and floor divided by 2, I will check if S I whether it's Si not equal as n minus I minus 1. And notice that the last letter is n minus 1, and then minus I. So we will keep changing I, we'll move to the middle. If they are not equal, and then we don't need to check anymore. So you can print that this is not a palindrome, and then we break. Again here, if you never see break here, the break is a keyword that will jump out from for loop immediately without go through all the loops. Okay, and then at the end of the for loop, we'll check if it's a breakout. If it's a breakout, we can use for else structure that if we break out, it will not execute this. So if it's execute everything, and then it will print this. So in this way, we can check a word whether it's a palindrome or not. This is not a palindrome, so this is not a palindrome. And alternative way to do this is, if you are familiar with string manipulation, what you can do is, well, if I have string, user input string, what I can do is I define another string, which reverse. The reverse string is colon -1, and then I will compare whether they are equal. If they are equal, this is a palindrome. Else, this is not a palindrome. And this is the easier way, because we use this reverse string, just compare itself with this reverse. Right, it works. So today we'll stop here, and then next lecture we'll continue look at list.